on Thursday, it's game one.
Because we all get to decide.
The business, the way to shoot the video.
Hey, welcome to episode 244 of the Jazz Takhar podcast, the number one podcast specifically to help real estate professionals do more deals and create a business around their life, not the other way around. Today's topic is financial management for real estate professionals. And before we get into the meat of today's episode, I wanted to quickly go over our special giveaway that we do at the end of every episode, live on YouTube as well, open to anybody who's listening on your favorite podcast platform. And that giveaway is 10 minutes with me personally, one-on-one on a phone call for a coaching call to pick my brain on any strategy, tactic, script, anything that's going on in your business that you need a little help with. I get a lot of emails and DMs with people picking my brain, and I try to get back to as many as possible. And so the team and I figured, why don't we just give away this 10 minutes one-on-one with me? And to find out how you can actually get that 10-minute call, I let you know at the end of the episode. But as I mentioned, today we're going to be talking about money. Look, life is not all about money. But if you're in this business and you're going to go to work every single day, we might as well make bags of that shit. Because if you're putting in the hours, taking the rejection that you're going to need to take when you're in sales, sacrifice the time that you might not be able to spend with yourself, your family, your friends, all the headache that comes along with being an entrepreneur. And don't make any mistake about it. If you're a real estate professional, you are an entrepreneur. You are a business owner. Unfortunately, a lot of people got into this business with the mindset of a salesperson. Now, selling and making phone calls and doing appointments and taking the rejection, that's all very, very important. However, a salesperson is not a business owner. You as a real estate professional are a business owner, and a business owner needs to know what their profit is, what their expenses are. And I hope some of you get comfortable with the word savings, because at the end of the day, if we're going to go out and work, we might as well have some money left at the end of the month. Sometimes there's more month than money at the end of the 30 days. And so if we don't start tracking it, and I'm going to go into this in very detail of what I did when I started in the business, some changes and tweaks I've made along the journey in the 20 years that I've been a real estate professional, what I've seen work for the top 1% in this industry when it comes to financial management in their business. However, if you don't have the mindset that you're going to take the time to do this every 30 days, then it's going to be one of those ideas that's just a good thing to know and not actually take action on. And I wanted to start with my overall thesis about revenue, top line revenue over worrying about the bottom line. Let me explain, because I know that might be a little mind fuck for most people, because when you listen to other podcasts maybe or watch other videos, maybe it's someone in your office, or you read another book about business, people talk a lot about, well, it's all about the bottom line. The bottom line is important. And bottom line, for anybody who's maybe new to this, and I don't mean that sarcastically, bottom line is essentially the difference between your revenue and your expenses. How much money you bringing in, how much money you're putting out. At the end of the day, you have a bottom line. When people say it's all about the bottom line, that's where I disagree. The bottom line is very important, and I'm not numb to that. I'm not an idiot. I'm not naive to that. However, part of that equation to get to your bottom line, as I mentioned, is your expenses, right? And so to help your bottom line, you can always increase or decrease your expenses to help it in terms of your bottom line, to make your business more profitable. Essentially, you can choose to decrease your expenses. And I'm going to go over what expenses I believe that are necessary to have a successful and profitable real estate business, and some that maybe you don't really need, and most of them in the category that you don't mostly need is for people who are buying stuff for the validation of others. And I'm going to go into that in detail because that's something that I think I'm seeing more and more of in our business. And I want to talk to you guys about that because it really is just fake shit. And so I'm going to speak about that. But going back to my thesis on worrying more about top line revenue than the bottom line. Because when you focus 80% of your energy, your mental bandwidth on top line revenue, meaning the money that you bring in, you automatically, by even focusing on 80% of your time on the top line revenue, you automatically are on the offense. See, when you worry more about the bottom line, you tend to have a scarcity mindset and are playing more defense because you're worried so much about the bottom line that you don't want to invest into some type of software. You don't want to invest into help with staff and team members. You don't bring in possibly a partner that can help with some of your weaknesses because you're worried so much about what am I going to take out? What am I going to get out of this? And what is going to be my bottom line that you don't go on the offense. So for the last 10 years, the last decade, I've really been focusing more on my top line because in that 10-year period, to help my bottom line, I've been able to decrease my expenses when I needed to because of the fact that I didn't need the technology. I didn't need that specific software after testing it out. Maybe I didn't need a specific location in terms of office space. I didn't need storage for all my for sale signs and staging. There's a lot of ways that we can start to decrease expenses to help the bottom line, but the mindset has to be that you're focusing on top line revenue because that habit and that skill, more importantly, the skill of bringing in money is what will make you get into the top 1% and not in the 99% in the industry and what 99% of people do, which is play defense. And so when we speak about top line revenue, I wanted to go into some of the ways that we earn revenues in this business. And stick with me here because you're going to hear a couple of ways to bring in revenue that I have a funny feeling is new to 99.9999% of you. But the parts of revenue that I bring in into my business, I've been doing this for 10 years out of the 20 years. So this is not one of those, again, good ideas This is something that I've done, and I've helped now hundreds do the same. Because as a real estate professional, I know the number one or maybe the only thing that you think of that can bring you revenue in this business, which is GCI for short, gross commission incomes. That's when you help a buyer, you get paid. You help a seller, you get paid. You help an investor, you get paid through commissions. That's going to be essentially the biggest portion of what you do in this business. However, there is other revenues that you can actually bring into this business. And let me explain. You can start to bring on team members. Team members from the perspective of other real estate agents, which does two things for you. Number one, it helps you sell more real estate because those real estate agents on your team can help you with listings. They can help you with showings, which then allows you to meet more people and possibly do more deals, which helps the top line. The other thing that happens when you bring on team members, other real estate agents on your team, is team splits and deal fees. So team splits and deal fees is what you would charge one of the agents to being on your team. Let me give you an example. So there is approximately 99 to 150 ways that you can calculate specific team splits and deal fees. But here's the most common way to do it that I've seen in the last 20 years. Is if when you bring on an agent, you put them on, for example, an 80-20 split. 80% goes to them, 20% comes to you as the team leader. Now, every time they do a deal, let's just say the average gross commission in your area after you sell a home or help a buyer is $10,000. They get $8,000 and you get $2,000. Now, that is a beautiful term in wealth creation called residual income. Because you hired the agent on your team once, but every time they do the work, you get paid. I can tell you that just taking the last 5 years in my organization, with having now a little over 50 real estate agents on my team, our deal fees and team splits have earned us in revenues within our organization a little over $1 million. So I know at the start of every year, on average, give or take, it obviously comes down a little bit depending on how many sales happen. It goes up depending on how many sales happen. To my organization in revenues through the work of my team members and real estate agents on my team, there is $1 million automatically going to be coming into our organization in revenues every single year. It's residual because I only had to hire the agent one time. As long as now, and I'll cover this in future episodes, how to retain and recruit agents on your team. As long as you do a good job with that, which takes work, which anything that is valuable in life takes work, anything that comes quickly, you'll start to notice is not that valuable. But the fact that I know every single year I could go on a beach if I decided, it's not who I am in terms of I love what I get to do every single day. But if I wanted to, at the age of 42, after focusing on my team for the last decade, I know that I can earn to my organization $1 million a year. So that's a second way that you can earn revenues to help your top line number. A third way is saying yes to prospects when they inquire about real estate outside of your province and country. Stick with me here. So I can explain how that actually plays out. If you've listened to past episodes and future episodes that are coming up, I'm going to go into in more further detail about how to actually make phone calls, what content to put out there to help you brand and market yourself. If you're in the country of Canada, I'm here in the Greater Toronto area. I speak heavily on the fact that investing into the Greater Toronto area is a very wise decision. However, world, as I'm doing my content, there are other places in the country that you might want to consider. Why? Because there's a myriad of reasons. It might be more affordable. There's different laws around income properties. There's, again, a myriad of reasons why. If you are possibly thinking about buying, selling, or investing in those areas, reach out to me so I can help you find a trusted advisor that I can vouch for. That's what I say in my emails, my phone calls, my events, and my content. What does that do? Well, when Clyde calls me and says, well, Jazz, I'm not really wanting to buy, sell, or invest in the GTA, but I would love to do something in Timbuktu, Saskatchewan. Do you know somebody? And that's when I say, yes, I have a trusted advisor there. Side note, if you don't have a trusted advisor, now would be the time to build a list of realtors that you can introduce your clients to. Side note, they'll do the same for you. So you can start to earn their introductions, but we give first, and then we ask. In that example, when Clyde calls, I say, yes, I have a trusted advisor in Saskatchewan. His name is Bobo, and he'll be able to help you. Now, does it work all the time that when Clyde calls Bo, they hit it off? No, not all the time. But I'm going to say safely and conservatively, 80% of the time they hit it off because I did my due diligence on Bo to make sure that he knows what the heck he's talking about. Now, when Bo does that deal, in our industry, it's quite common, minimum, that a 25% referral fee would be sent my way. Let's continue to use the $10,000 example. Now, Clyde, I wouldn't be able to help anyways because I'm not licensed in Timbuktu, Saskatchewan. And he doesn't want to buy or sell and invest in Toronto. So why wouldn't I still do some legwork for him, bring him value, because he does not have to then do the legwork or just Google real estate agents in Saskatchewan and then get somebody. I'm introducing him to somebody that I believe that's going to do a good job and treat him with white gloves on. That $10,000 commission, Bo is going to send me 25%, which is a nice $2,500 check. Now, using the same time frame of 5 years, in my organization, I do about $100,000 every single year in what I call outside referrals. Outside referrals from the geographical space that myself and my team work. Remember, there are multiple ways to earn money in this industry. You got license to sell it. I understand. Sell it meaning real estate. But there's other ways. And I hope through this episode, you're opening your eyes on how you could make more money with doing less work. Like, kind of neat, right? Like you get to, I'm not going to, in that scenario, be showing and listing Clyde's home. Bo's doing all the work. But Bo wouldn't have the business without my referral. So that's number 3. Number 4, and this is where probably 99.99999% of you have never heard of this. If you're in my community meaning my social, or if you're part of my academy being coached by us, then you definitely have heard about this and you're already making money doing this. But everyone else, and 99.999% of people that I come into contact with in this industry have no clue what I'm speaking about. I will actually do a episode on this. In fact, it might be one of the episodes, and I'm speaking really more to my team now, might be one of the episodes that we bring in a guest, just to bring more value, because I'm not licensed to sell it myself, which is introduction fees for passive investments that your clients can make with registered funds. Now, to my American friends and brothers and sisters, registered funds, most commonly RRSPs in Canada, is similar to your IRAs, your income retirement. The A eludes me right now, so maybe one of my brothers and sisters can, in the States, help me with that. But it's very similar. Here in Canada, we are not allowed to sell this investment because it is known as a security. And unless you're licensed with the province that you're going to be selling these securities, you're not allowed to sell it. What you are allowed to do, though, is make introductions to companies that will give you a referral fee. Now, be very, very careful. Understand that you should know the company and be able to vouch for the company that you're making introductions to. If you're a real estate professional, whatever platform you're watching or listening, just leave me a comment with the word RRSP, and I will give you the introduction to the companies that we use. Please note to do your own due diligence. I've been working with these companies for the last 10 years. What did these companies do? Really quickly, they help clients in our country invest their registered funds into real estate. This is not the first time home buyer stuff. They help my clients invest their registered funds into real estate and help my clients earn a higher return than what they're normally seeing in a mutual fund or a GIC. So the client is happy. The company is investing it into real estate through known as a REIT. REIT, Real Estate Investment Trust. And you'll be happy when you get a referral fee. Now, I won't speak about the actual dollars per unit, meaning per referral, because it varies. In using the same 5-year example, and this is only by sending an email. I'm saying this slowly because I'm about to blow your fucking mind. By sending an email, because I can't speak more about it than I already did to you as the real estate professionals. It's exactly how I have to explain it to a client. If the client and when the client asks any more questions about it, I tell them the truth. Great question, Clyde the client. So I don't misinform you, and by law, I'm not allowed to really speak about it any more than I already have. I'm going to make an introduction to one of these companies. You find out if it's a fit for you. If it is, great. If not, who cares? You wasted 25 minutes on a consultation that could have earned you more money. Great. It works. If it works, great. If not, who cares? In the last 5 years, we've done on average $175,000 to $200,000 year over year with those referral fees. Side note, that is not a real estate transaction, so it doesn't even go through your brokerage. So what your brokerage would take as a split on your gross commission, on a commission deal, this doesn't go through the brokerage. This is not something I'm telling you like under the table illegally. Like all this is above board. It's legal. The companies that I deal with, again, just comment the word RRSP and I'll make the introductions for you. And after you do your due diligence on these companies, you'll know that they've been in business for a very long time. It's a very regulated industry, even more so than the real estate industry. And by making those email introductions, I earn myself to my organization anywhere from $175,000 to $200,000 every single year. Here's a fifth way that you can help your top line revenue. The fifth way is, if you work with investors, this is a very easy transition in making more revenues. If you're not currently working with investors, and maybe you didn't actually invest or purchase the property, but you can start to put out content around this and start helping people manage their properties. Now, again, this is not easy money because of the fact that you actually have to then help people manage the property. But if you help an investor with an income property, 90% of the time, the investor that you're helping is blue collar, white collar workers. They're busy. It's quite easy for you to let them know that you would be managing the property. What does that mean, managing the property, really quickly? Well, collecting the rent. When the toilet breaks, calling the plumber, making sure that happens, that the toilet gets fixed, the light goes out, the tenant leaves, you got to bring in a new tenant. You got to start rent it out for them when they purchase the property. Those are all ways that you're going to help them manage the property, and you can charge anywhere from about 6 to 8%. You can go upwards of 10% as well. I've seen that, common. I like to do around 6 to 8% because the client 99% of the time purchased the property through me. So I want to kind of give them a break and reward the loyalty because they bought it with me. So 6 to 8%, if you take that $2,000 of rental income that the landlord's getting from the tenant, that 8% on a monthly basis is $160. You're like, Jess, it's $160. That's not a lot of money. Well, hold on. It's per month. So now we're talking upwards of $1,500 a year. It's obviously a little bit more than that, but call it $1,500 a year. That's for one client. And when 90% of the time, when you put a tenant in to a property, as long as you did the due diligence up front, there's not a lot of legwork. There is work, but not a lot. Like the toilet's going to break. You're not fixing the toilet yourself. You're going to call the plumber. The plumber that you already have in your directory of services. Another episode coming very soon on how to grow your database with service providers that need your business and that will give you business in return. So now that $1,500 a year for that one client, let's just say that you have 10 of those. You're managing 10 properties for 10 landlords, and you're earning an extra $15,000. I get it. $15,000 is not a lot of money from the perspective of what you get paid to do a real estate deal. But here's the mindset that I want you to have with these other ways of earning revenue. What I do is I ensure that all my expenses that I have associated with my business are not paid from my commissions on deals. The commissions on deals is what Jazzy takes home. Literally. The expenses that are associated with my office space, my staff members, my technology, my studio that I'm in right now, that is paid with the other revenue generating categories that I have, that I just went over with you. Do you understand? Like, I know I said that pretty quickly for some of you. I just want to make sure that you caught that. What I've always done is that I've always made sure that my expenses are covered with these other ways of revenue so that my commissions, my real estate commissions from deals that I'm doing, as well as my team revenue, that's what I get to take home. Now, what I do with it at home is my personal stuff, i.e. my expenses that I have personally. I'm going to talk to you about what I really do, which is after my personal expenses are paid off, I put everything back into the business. All of it, which brings me to my next part of the conversation, which is a lot of you right now have expenses that I understand that you need to start to cover. And a lot of those expenses, in my opinion, are based on you buying stuff to impress people that don't even matter. You're buying stuff to impress people that don't even really know you and you don't know them. One thing I know for sure, if they know you or you know them, they're not thinking about you as much as you think that they're thinking about you. You're just getting yourself into a deeper hole by purchasing fancy bags, fancy watches, cars, fancy clothes, because you think that by doing so, people are going to think you're successful. Maybe it's for the gram, or you think that that's the only way that you're going to get business. I'm here to tell you, not counting my team's numbers, guys, in that last 5-year period, I've sold a little over 1,500 homes and condos. All in a t-shirt or a hoodie. Driving, for majority of that time, a Toyota Camry. Why would I do that? Well, I know the less money I spend on dumb shit that is only bought to, in my opinion, majority of the time to impress people, I can take that money and invest that into Clyde and Bo and Tyler and Laura and Steven, and it goes on and on and on. 'Cause when I invest that into the people individually, I buy back a minimum of 40 hours a week. See, you might think that we both have 24 hours in a day. It's not true. Or let me rephrase it. Let's just take a basic, what I think is part-time in this business, but let's call it an 8-hour day for argument's sake. You might think that we both have 8 hours in a day, but that's not true. Why? Because, see, I have 10 staff members. So I essentially have 80 hours in a day, not even counting myself. See how that works? I have 80 hours a day to fuck with. It's going to be very hard to compete with me because I just have more man and woman power to do the work. But most of you are not willing to leave money on the table because you want to take all that money to buy the dumb shit. If you can just hold yourself, here's the secret sauce. This is the punchline of the whole fucking episode. Because I'll go into deeper stuff, but here's the punchline. If you can hold off for 5 years from buying dumb shit, you can have anything you want. I promise you. Because see, in that 5-year period, taking those 80 hours a day, 80 times 5, that's 400 hours in a week. That's 1,600 hours in a month that I got more than you. Over 5 years, that's a lot of time, a lot of work, a lot of output, a lot of productivity that happens. But most of you can't hold off for 5 years because we have this, I need shit right now. Because we overestimate what we can do in a year, but we underestimate what we can do in 5 years. Hold off from buying anything that you don't need for 5 years. Invest it back into yourself. Invest it back into your business. And you will be amazed at what your business looks like. Here's a caveat. What really happens at the end of the 5 years, because you trained yourself now not to need all that shit, when you come to the 5 years, you're not going to buy it. Because you're going to want to grow now. This plant, this seed that you planted today, becomes this beautiful flower / plant in 5 years. And now you know that all you have to do is keep watering it, keep giving it sunlight and more time, and it grows bigger. Which then frees you up to do whatever you like. It's why I say this podcast, the Jazz Takhar podcast, is hands down the #1 podcast to help real estate professionals create a business around their life and not the other way around. Why would you want to create your life around your business? At best, we got 60 years to work. We have, call it 100 years to live. That's only 100 summers. That's 100 Christmas breaks. I'm 42. So I got maybe about 60 of those left. I'm going to create something that I'm running around every day like a chicken with his head cut off. And then to come to realize that I'm doing it because I'm trying to impress fucking people. When I know that I can create something, i.e. a business, that will actually give me my time back. See, in my opinion, the true definition of success for me, I'm not telling you how to live. For me, the true definition of success for me is to get to do what I want, when I want, and with whom I want. And I can only do that if I know my financial stuff is taken care of. What I need to make sure I take care of from a financial perspective is taken care of. My house, my kids' school, food, basic clothing, vacation, so I can sharpen the saw being my mind and my body. Now, to help with getting yourself out of the financial burden that you might be in, here's a couple of tactics. #1, and this is going to be painful. I know you've probably heard this before, but now would be a great time to do this specific tactic. Print out all your credit cards, statements. We need to do the work. Print out all the credit card statements for the last 60 days because we need to see what's recurring on those credit card statements. And now we got to look at, do we really need the Hulu, Netflix, Disney, ESPN Plus, all of them? Netflix. Not that $50 a month is going to change, I'm sure, your life. And so I understand, well, Jazz, it's only $50 a month. It's probably a bit more than that. I didn't even know, side note, that Netflix increased their payments to $19 a month. I fucking bought that shit at $4 a month. And so it increased pretty quickly. But small things like that. It's the habit. It's the skill that I want you to practice, which is actually doing the work, printing out your credit card statements. And let's take a look now at all the recurring expenses that we can start to consider to get rid of. Now, if you have multiple credit cards that you have balances on and that you are paying interest on, meaning that you don't pay off your full credit card balance at the end of the month, the interest rate on those credit cards is insane. Last check, I think it was somewhere around 22 to 25%. There's credit cards upwards of 30%. I know there's some at 18%. Let's on average say 20 to 22%. That is insane if you're paying that type of interest on your credit cards. And if you have multiple ones, here's the tactic. Go to the bank and inquire to see if you can get what is known as a debt consolidation loan. Why? Well, because the credit cards will be paid off. You can then cut your credit cards, keep one or two max, because you want to make sure that you have access to money. And I'm going to talk about when the best time to get money is. But the debt consolidation loans pays off all those credit cards, decreases the interest rate. But here's the big reason why you want to do it. It makes it all one monthly payment. So it's a lot easier to track. Now, you got to make sure that you cut those credit cards, okay? I've seen this before. I used to work at the bank for over 3 years in my mid-teens, 17, 18, 19. And the amount of times I saw people getting debt consolidation loans and then ran up their credit cards again. Do you know why the saying is that the rich get richer and the poor get poorer? Not because of the fucking government, not because of social regulations and laws. The reason is because the rich, their mindset is different. The reason people stay poor is because even if you gave a poor person $1 million, they wouldn't know what to do with it. We just saw it happen if you think about it. Look at COVID. Why did the rich really get rich during COVID when the poor got all the money? The poor got money, free checks, and instead of investing it, instead of paying off maybe their credit cards, because the money came free, they spent it. Where did they spend it? On the assets of the wealthy. And so, if you were to get this debt consolidation loan, please cut the rest of the credit cards except for 2, because I still need you to have access to cash and capital and money in case of an emergency. Now, maybe you're on the other side. You're not in some type of debt. Here's the best time to get money when you don't need it. As I mentioned, banking industry for 3 years, running a business for the last 2 decades. And I can tell you, I went through hardship, financial hardship, plenty of times. I've had people rip me off. I owed over 370 grand 7 years ago because I got ripped off by some business partners. So I'm not a stranger to any of this stuff. The best time to get money is when you don't need it. Because when you need it, lenders, private lenders, banks, friends, family, in some cases, they don't give it to you as easy because they know you're desperate and you need it. If you're someone right now that is not in a financial crunch, maybe you're just starting in this business, go get a line of credit. If you own a property, I want you to get a home equity line of credit. Why? Because you only get charged on money that you actually use. So don't worry about getting the line of credit. If you don't own a home and you can't get it secured against your house, and the reason you want to get it secured against your house is because then you're going to pay less interest. But if you can't, because you don't own a property, you can get an unsecured line of credit. Now the interest rate's going to be higher. I won't, throw out numbers in terms of interest rates because depending on when you're watching or listening to this, could be different. At the end of the day, on a line of credit, home equity, secured against your home, unsecured, you only get charged interest when you use it. At the age of 19, while I was working at the bank, I made the best decision from a financial perspective, which was I took a $45,000 unsecured line of credit. Why was that a great decision? Because I didn't know, but 3.5 years later, I got into the real estate business. And when I got into the real estate business, I had some cash saved, not much, 25 grand maybe, 26 grand at the age of 22 from when I came from selling cars. But I ran through that money really quickly because I didn't do any deals at the start. It's obviously going to take some time to get the business up and running. But because I had a little bit of cash saved, that 20 to 25,000, but I also had that $45,000 line of credit, and I believed in myself, I was able to stay in business. Make no mistake about it. There's one rule in business. This is it. The one rule in business is to stay in business, which means you got to make more than you spend. At the start, though, I did have more expenses than I was making. But because I had that line of credit, I was able to dip into the line of credit and keep myself afloat, keep myself above water, keep myself, most importantly, in business. Because I knew it was just a matter of time until the numbers worked out for me in terms of me making phone calls, meeting people, putting on events at that time, that I would do deals. That's exactly what happened. But if it wasn't for that line of credit, I would have to do, which some of you are thinking about doing, maybe some of you did already. I hope there's not a lot of you who have to do this, which is quit and get out of the business or go part-time. And part-time in this business is very, very difficult. But because I had that line of credit. So if you're just starting out, go to the bank, get yourself a line of credit set up. You don't need to one for 100 grand. Unsecured, they wouldn't generally give you that high anyways. You're probably max going to be able to get a $50,000 unsecured line of credit anyways. From a very basic level, here's what I did every time a dollar came in, and I do this till this day. There's some variations because of the corporations I have set up now, and because I have multiple businesses, the real estate company as well as my coaching company. But for 17 of those 20 years in this business, this is exactly what I've done. It's what I coach people on till this day. It's very simple. Okay? A dollar comes in. This is where most agents make the mistake. They think that dollar's theirs. Because as an employee, my crew here who gets a paycheck every 2 weeks, they don't need to worry about this because the taxes have been taken from them already. All their CPP and EI and all that kind of stuff, and they get a net paycheck. But for us in real estate, as a real estate professional, or someone in small business, that's not how it works for us. So when that dollar comes in, I need you to put away money in separate accounts that you don't touch. Because you're gonna have to pay some things. It's just not being paid right now. And where real estate professionals get in trouble at the end of the year, I know you know who I'm speaking about. They're gonna come knocking. And we want to make sure that we don't get behind on this, which is that word called taxes. You can never get away from taxes, guys. Even after you die, you will be paying taxes. The only thing that you can do with taxes is defer them, at best. I'm not an accountant, so please note that I urge you to seek independent tax advice. But what I've always done is taken 30 cents of that dollar and put it in a separate account. Not my regular bank account. I have a separate account. not where all my mortgage goes from, because it gets very convoluted very quickly. I take 30 cents, I put that in the tax account. Then, second person to pay, very important, is myself. If I'm going to pay the government, which I know I have to, before my mortgage company, before my telephone bill, before my internet bill, before Clyde, before Bo, I know that I have enough money put away in a separate account to make sure I meet payroll. Knock on wood, in 10 years that I've had a team, I've always met payroll. But I'm going to pay myself first, because if I don't pay myself, I know what's going to happen. If I don't pay myself first, I know what's going to happen, which is everyone else is going to take their money. So I just pay myself first. And very simply put, I put 10 cents away out of every single dollar. 30 cents to tax, 10 cents goes to myself. I'm going to break that 10 cents for you as well. But before I do that, I just want you to continue down this path with me. Out of that dollar, I take 20 cents and I put it in a business account. This is what the difference maker for me has been in my business. And when I said to you, in 5 years, you'll be able to do what you want to do, because for that, with that 20 cents that I put away, as it accumulated over time, I was able to invest in my business with people and technology and coaching and being able to take some trips to conferences where I got to network and learn from other people. 20 cents. Then that leaves me with 40 cents, and that's what I get to live off of. That's where my mortgage gets paid. That's where my kids' schooling gets paid. That's where I get to eat. And you might say, well, Jazz, that's, if I do a deal using that example of $10,000, that's only $4,000. I know. That's why you got to work fucking harder. I know that's not a lot of money for some of you, but that's why you got to do all the work in all the other episodes that I cover here and the ones that I'm going to be covering. That's why you got to do multiple deals. That's why you got to take action. That's why you got to stop fucking around and lying to yourself that you're actually working. Because the 40 cents on that dollar, I understand, is not a lot. But what most of you do is take that $10,000 commission check, buy the shit that you need to buy, pay off your credit cards, and then at the end of the year, June-ish, here in Canada, the government comes knocking and says, yo, dude, where's my money? And then you don't have it, and they say, no problem. Nope, it's okay. We're just going to tack on some interest and some penalties, and they don't care because they know they'll get it. They'll just garnish your wages when they feel like it's time. That usually happens in year 2 and year 3, guys and gals. So don't think because they haven't come sending you the notices that you need to pay now, they know how to get you. Hence why you need to put the money away up front and as quickly as possible. Now, I want to break quickly down that 10 cents that you're paying yourself. This is where it has to be done right off that paycheck, right away into a separate account. And I'm not endorsing a specific bank here, but go get a tax-free savings account with a higher interest rate. The ones that, they're all over the place. Find one. Put the money in that account, separate from where all your other banking is. Why? Because it's tougher to get out. Just an extra 48 hours. And so then you don't think about it as much. That 10 cents from every single paycheck, when that accumulates, that's where you take your vacation. But more importantly, you as a real estate agent, I talked to you about all the ways that you can earn extra income. None of it is going to compare to you actually investing into real estate. In my 20 years, I've made a lot of money selling real estate with team splits and deal fees, my outside agent referrals, the introduction to some of the companies that work with real estate investment trusts, my property management, a lot of money. It pales in comparison to what I've made with my real estate investments. And if you're going to tell somebody to invest into real estate, I highly recommend that you've done it before. Just makes it easier for you to tell the story of how you did it. Now, simply put, don't overthink this. You don't need to get a financial advisor. All you got to do is open up an Excel sheet, put revenues on one tab, expenses on the other. In the expenses tab, though, make sure that you have all your ongoing expenses that you know, your mortgage payment, your condo fees, your taxes, your eating, your school, your kid's school. Have that all in a column. After you did your credit card statements and taken everything and looked at it for the last 60 days, what you're going to do is then take a look at, put that into the Excel sheet as well after you've decreased in all the nonsense subscriptions that you have. And then every 30 days, I want you to look at this revenue and expense tracker. Another word is profit and loss. Because as you know, if you don't track this, and we did an episode maybe 3-4 episodes ago talking about metrics from a sales analytics perspective, but you also need to do tracking when it comes to your finances, it will get very, very wonky quickly. Wonky meaning it will get out of control. So at least if you're watching this every 30 days and you didn't do the deals because the revenue didn't come in, you know that you need to work harder. This is the scoreboard that I always speak about. We need to know the score. We need to know if we're winning or losing. So just simply put, just get, you don't need a new software and app that you're going to fucking pay for on a monthly basis. Just open up an Excel sheet, revenue tab, expenses tab. It does the math for you. It's very simple. Now, I want to jump into our live call that I make at the end of every episode to one lucky winner for a live coaching call. For you to be a winner of this giveaway that we do at the end of every episode, all you have to do, very simply put, my team will randomly choose someone. There's no cost for it. All you have to do is go to ftguacademy.com/call, CALL. Go to ftguacademy.com/call. At the end of every episode, we call one lucky winner live. And I have no idea what the person's going to be asking. I ask my team not to even ask the person because I want you to see how I would do coaching without even knowing what the person's talking about. So I always get excited for this. Bear with me here. I got to pull up our boy's number. And Jake, if you are listening live, I'm going to be calling you shortly. Team, where do I have? Here we go. All right, let me just pull this up. Here's his number. All right.
Hey, Jazz, how's it going?
I'm amazing, Jake. You're live on Jazz Takhar podcast, buddy. How you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me.
100%, buddy. Well, I appreciate you reaching out and wanting to do this call. Talk to me, man. We got about 10 minutes, and I want to make sure I bring you as much value as I possibly can, brother.
Absolutely. Okay, my main thing is I had the workshop with you. It was fantastic. I made some calls, and I was started booking some consultations, right, with the real estate action plan. My main thing is when we do book that real estate action plan, what's your end goal there? Like, what are we trying to do? Like a home evaluation? Are we trying to see kind of what's next for them?
Yeah, so the home evaluation definitely could possibly come out of it, but the 30,000 foot view of that real estate action plan, it's a great question, by the way, is to get a better idea of what their meaning your prospect or someone in your network is trying to accomplish long term within real estate. Okay, so the main objective is to get a better idea of what they might be wanting to accomplish long term. Now, within that might mean that they want to invest into real estate through an income property, possibly they want something that is more passive, like they don't want to deal with the tenants and toilets, meaning they don't want like a duplex or triplex or multiplex. And that might be an opportunity for you to educate them on a passive investment like a pre-construction condo. What else might come out of that is the fact that, well, they don't even want to invest. They don't have the bandwidth for it. They don't have the capital right now for it. But what they need to do is sell one of their properties, sell their current property and move. Hence why I said possibly the home evaluation would come out of that. The third thing that commonly comes out of these real estate action plans, in fact, I just covered it actually in my episode right now, with the topic being financial management for real estate professionals, is that one other revenue, one other way that we create revenue here is by introducing our clients to firms that help our clients invest their registered funds. Because the average Canadian has approximately $100,000 to $150,000 in registered funds, but they can't invest it into real estate. And now I'm not talking about the first-time home buying stuff. Like, other than first-time home, like you can only really use your RSPs within real estate if you're a first-time home buyer. However, there's also other ways that you can keep your money in your RRSP and invest it into real estate and earn anywhere from 8 to 12 upwards to 30% year over year, opposed to what they're seeing anywhere from 2 to 4% in their mutual funds and GIC, sorry. And so the objective for you is to speak to your client, and you are going to have to say to them, hey, I'm going to ask a couple of financial questions. If I overstep my boundaries, please let me know. And then go into finding out what they might want to accomplish. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was my main thing, because I was making the calls, everything was good, and then I'm like, okay, well, here's the next step is when I'm actually there in person.
100%. So what we do, what our coaching really, like our one-on-one coaching on a weekly basis, and this is not a plug for that, man. Like you probably been following, like, do you follow me on content and stuff?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so I appreciate that, by the way.
Of course.
You probably get a sense of me. Like, I don't really talk too much about, like, I don't promote shit other than if I'm on like more of a one-on-one call. But what we do in our 52-week program in person, once a week for 3 hours, we actually do film sessions. So you would record that real estate action plan on Google Meet, and then we would watch it all together, or you'd watch it with me, or you'd watch it with my team members, and then we teach you how to convert. Because we like here's the main aspect of what I think real estate professionals need to do. You need more appointments, because without an actual appointment, selling a high ticket item like real estate is very rare. Rare meaning someone just calling you and saying, hey, I saw something on the internet, I want to buy it. That's like getting lucky. You get what I'm saying?
Yep. Where
what we really do is we're not order takers from the perspective of waiting for somebody to call us or email us. That's why I make you in the workshop, like you witnessed and experienced, you're going out and having appointments. Now, I get it. You're like, shit, Jazz, what do I do on these appointments? But simply put, you don't need to take the coaching to know this. I'm going to give it to you right now, which is stick with the 5 questions. What, where, when, how, and why. What, where, when, how, and why. Those are open-ended questions that gets the person to open up to you and give you answers more than just yes or no. And then that's where you can try to reverse engineer a product that you have. Let me say that again, because that might have went over your head, Jake, or maybe somebody who else is listening, which is your job is to uncover a possible need or want, and then reverse engineer a product or service that you have.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right now, very hard. Just want the first time that you do it, hence why you need to do. So in the last 90 days, call it now, we've done a little over 250 of these in my own organization. When you do something that long, you just get better at it.
Yep.
Right? What I would rather, so a lot of people say to me, Jazz, I don't even want to book the appointments because I don't know what to say. I'm like, fuck that, bro. Like, what the fuck we talking about here? Like, let's bring in the groceries and then we'll figure out what we can cook. People are always worried about what they're going to eat, but they have no groceries. You get what I mean? Like, I'm all about, what are we all talking about what we're eating tonight? Like, can we get the groceries and then we'll figure out what to cook? And that's my whole objective when it comes to why booking appointments is the number one thing to do and the number one thing to focus on, because now you're talking to a person. It's better than not talking to somebody. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Okay.
that I get for sure.
What else you got for me, buddy? We got a couple more minutes. I could bring you some value in any other way that you might be looking.
Perfect. I got one more for you, and I know it doesn't really pertain to making the calls.
No, that's okay. Go anywhere with me, man.
Because, okay, so my main way of catching leads is I do a lot of door knocking.
Okay.
Do you have like a good idea of what kind of value I can bring when I knock on the door? Because my main thing when I chat with my neighbors in other streets is I pretty much let them know that I'm helping out one of their neighbors, and I was just doing a quick home evaluation and letting them know what the prices and value of the neighborhood is. Do you think there's anything better that I could be saying that would kind of intrigue them to give me their number or invite me in, or try to push that home eval? Yeah,
so first things first, I would never have the objective of you trying to get invited in. And this might differ from other coaches and stuff like that. I would never walk into someone's house the day that I knocked on the door, because I lose all credibility right off the spot, right? So if I knock on a door and they say, come inside and do this right now, I know they're just wanting my song and dance from the perspective of like what their house might be worth. What I would say is, well, I got another 57 doors to knock. And so I can actually be focused on what you're looking into doing. When's good for you? Tomorrow or the day after? First and foremost. So my objective would never be to get into the house at that time. Just, that's me. I wouldn't. To answer the first part of your question, what could you do to get their contact info?
Yep.
I got a couple of things for you. But this is going to take work first before you go knock on those doors. Okay? Because what I would do is I would provide more value. What do I mean by that? Well, I would do Are you knocking a certain area? What area are you knocking?
Pretty much by Churchill Meadows.
Churchill Meadows, what's that, Mississauga?
Yeah, Mississauga.
Okay, great. Okay, so what I would do is in that area of Churchill Meadows, there has to be some type of library, community center, or condo. Yeah. Got it. Okay, so I would put on an educational event, okay? And I would do this every quarter.
Okay.
And then you invite people to an event. You got to take this step by step. What people do when they door knock, they try to close the person they try to close them right away. Mm-hmm. It's like that's like child's play. It's why I think it's so easy to do good in this to do really well in this business, because the bar's set so low. And what I mean by that is that I would spend time on the understanding that there's a process to this. So when I knock on the door, if I were door knocking, I wouldn't even talk about their house. Who cares? I'll get it when I get it. And what's the chances of the person you knocking on the door and they do say to you, fuck, I was just thinking about listing. What's the chances of that? It's rare, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm talking about is I would not even talk that. I would knock on the door and say, oh man, I'm so glad that you opened the door. I'm putting on an educational event because a lot of people in the community have been wondering like what's happening with the values in this area. Rather than me telling you, I'm actually doing an event. I'm going to have some coffee. I'm going to have some tea. I'm going to have some muffins. It's happening on Saturday morning at 10:30 at the local library. It's free. There's no cost. If you want to come, here's the landing page. Just go to jakesevent.com and register. They're going to say, you're like, no, I don't want to come. That's okay. No problem. You can, if you want to stay in touch with other upcoming events, just all you got to do is put your contact information there. And I don't spam people. I only want to make sure that I reach out to people that I have permission from. Now, at that event, is where you have a better chance now to give more value. See, we gotta come up with as many ways as possible that we can give, and then ask. Check this out, Jake. You watch my content for free, right? You then came to an event for free. How many appointments did you book when you came to my free event?
I booked one there, and then the next day booked two more.
So you got two appointments, okay?
So I got three.
Okay,
Three
three,
total.
I apologize. 3 total appointments. Now you got 10 minutes with me as well. At some point, you're possibly, not 100%, you're possibly going to say, fuck, why don't I just like get more time with Jazz and see him every single week? And so he might be able to do even something more for my business. Because look at the shit he's giving to me for free. What's going to happen when I actually pay them? That might possibly happen. That might not ever happen. I'm just sorting to see who it happens with.
Yep.
If it happens with Jake, great. If it doesn't happen, who cares? Some will, some won't. So what? Like, what does it matter? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's the so give, and then you can ask. Like, you're gonna ask by then at least bringing them to an event. Is that a little different than what the other agents in the area are doing? It's a rhetorical question. I already know the answer. You know what I mean? And so we teach people how to put on 4 educational events every single year like clockwork. I believe in events so much. I've done over 672 of them now. In my 20-year career, I put on an event for my real estate clients every single month. I used to do it every other week. Like, that's how insane and obsessed and passionate we are when it comes to events. Because it's something different. So that's number 1. Number 2, I'm going to give you one more nugget on how to get people's contact info and bring them more value. You need to start some type of content. What I would recommend is long form content like I'm doing. Go 30 minutes every month and sit down with a guest and have a conversation, not selling shit, not saying Jake is the best real estate agent since sliced bread, but educating people on the process of investing their RRSPs, educating people on the 5 ways that they can sell their own home. So I wrote a book. Which is called Real Estate Intelligence, and it teaches people how to sell their own home for free without a real estate agent.
Yep.
98% of people never sell without a real estate agent. So the second thing I would do is content. Because you're knocking on doors, bro, in all honesty, between you and I, like, if I knock on your fucking door in the evening, are you, like, do you really want me to do that?
No, not really.
Yeah. Do you really want me to cold call? Like, you want me to call you? Like, do you like getting calls from air duct cleaners?
No.
Like, but then you're that person.
Yeah.
At least do it differently. At least do it differently, and I can tell you, I've disrupted the real estate industry in the GTA by doing everything differently, but making sure that I've been doing it in a way that brings other people value. It's the secret sauce. There's no competition up here. And I don't mean that from an egotistical perspective. I don't have a lot of competition because nobody's going to put in that much work.
Yep.
Okay, my team's giving me the fucking signal.
Okay.
Reach out to us if you want to learn more about the once a week.
Yep.
And actually coming in the office. We don't just book appointments. We do a lot of that. But then it's like we build the webinars. We build the once a month webinars for you. Content, long form content. Okay. We build out your 4 events every year. I give you the guests and the topics. We also then go heavy on how to convert those real estate action plans because that's where all the money is. And so we build all of that with it, but I need you there for 52 weeks because I can't. I'm not a bullshitter. I'm not gonna fucking be able to do that in 2 hours. So I always leave a call like this and say, if you were amazed at what I was able to do with you in 45 minutes, just think about what I'm going to be able to do and my team's going to be able to do with 156 hours.
Gotcha.
Okay?
Yep, absolutely.
All right, brother. I leave that with you. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it in terms of you watching the content and you doing this live. You brought other people value today, and so that means a lot to me. So thank you, Jake.
No worries. Appreciate you having me on.
Okay, brother. Take care.
All right. Cheers, Jazz.
Cheers.
Thanks.
If you want to get a 10-minute call with me live on Jazz Takhar podcast, go right now. There's no cost for it. Go to ftguacademy.com/call. And if this episode was valuable, please share it with a friend, colleague, neighbor, or family member. See you for episode 245.